In My Christmas Wish, the moment we witness Jenna and Ray alone together on Christmas Eve unfolds like a slow bloom beneath winter frost. A story shaped not by spectacle or taboo but by longing, disappointment, and the fragile courage required for women, especially queer women, to reach toward love when the world has already taught them how to brace for abandonment. And as Jenna wraps gifts under warm lamplight, preparing for a holiday she imagined would be bright with family tradition, we feel her optimism shimmer like tinsel against a window pane, delicate and hopeful, right before the weight of reality settles when she hears Ray, her longtime friend, her anchor in lonely seasons, pleading over the phone with Jenna's father to come home. Her voice raw with frustration, layered with the weariness of someone who is trying so desperately to hold something together that she herself is not responsible for. And when the call ends with silence heavy as snowfall, Ray must deliver the news that Jenna already senses in her bones. He isn't coming, work is calling louder than family, and Christmas, the holiday of togetherness, will arrive without him, leaving only the two women in a house full of wrapped promises and absent warmth. And the queer heart recognizes this ache immediately. That unique sting of being second place to career, expectations, obligations, of feeling like love is conditional, seasonal, offered only when convenient. And Ray sits beside Jenna not as a guardian or replacement figure, but as a woman who has watched her friend hope for things she has not been given often enough. And her comfort is tender, gentle, something that queer women know intimately, the quiet attempt to make pain survivable through presence. Not fix, just be there. And even though disappointment hangs in the air like unspoken prayer, Jenna laughs through the ache, saying that maybe they can still make the best of it. An instinct queer people often develop like muscle memory, learning to salvage joy. From the scraps of expectation to build family where blood has failed, to choose each other when tradition falls apart, and Ray, relieved by Jenna's resilience, agrees to make the night special, her agreement carrying something deeper beneath it, something she has wanted to say or do for a long time, as if loneliness unlocks courage inside her. The kind that whispers maybe now, maybe this is finally the moment. And the film invites us to feel this tension without turning it into something voyeuristic, instead framing it as soft yearning, a slow burn revelation that what Ray feels for Jenna has lived in the space between spoken and unspoken for years, perhaps in the way she watches Jenna concentrate as she ties ribbon, or laughs with her mouth wide and unguarded, or leans against Ray without thinking like home is just an arm's reach away. And the holiday setting amplifies the intimacy, because Christmas is cultural shorthand for reflection, regret, hope, second chances, the ache of love. Lost and love longed for. And when the women decide to salvage the night together, turning on the fireplace channel, roasting marshmallows over lighters, decorating the room with lights, improvising celebration from scarcity, it feels like queer resilience embodied. We create warmth where none was given. We string lights across grief, we build our own joy, and with each shared laugh the distance shrinks, the room feels smaller and brighter, as if the universe is inching them toward truth. And while they eat their mismatched TV dinners beside their makeshift holiday glow, Jenna admits that everything is almost perfect. Almost. Except that in her family they always stood beneath mistletoe to honor tradition. And traditions often wound queer women. They built rituals that assumed heterosexual futures, kissing boys, smiling politely, erasing possibility. But instead of longing for that imposed life, Jenna names the tradition with nostalgia rather than ache, and Ray's eyes flicker with mischief. Hope? And she disappears briefly, returning not with holly, but a head of broccoli held overhead like a joke and an offering, the queer improvisation of ritual, playfully sacred, delightfully ridiculous. And when Jenna laughs, really laughs, something melts between them like snow touched by sunlight, and they lean in to honor the moment. A kiss that begins as tradition but lingers as revelation, slow and uncertain like two women stepping barefoot into vulnerability. And the film lets it breathe, not sexualized, not sensationalized, just two adult women realizing that closeness could be love or already was. And queer viewers know this moment so well, the one kiss that turns years of maybe into certainty. The moment your chest opens like a door and you think, oh, it's you, it has always been you. And as they pull apart, no fear, no shame, just wonder. The snow continues outside, sealing the house like a snow globe, a universe where they are the only people who matter, and their earlier disappointment transforms into gratitude for what remained when everything else fell away. And this scene resonates deeply with LGBTQ+ audiences, because it captures the quiet evolution of friendship into something more. How yearning sometimes grows unnoticed until the right ache cracks it open. And Ray, previously tense with unspoken desire, now looks at Jenna with relief and awe, as if she can finally exhale after holding her breath for years, while Jenna, surprised but glowing, realizes that chosen intimacy can be just as magical as the Christmas she planned, if not more, and that love does not always arrive in the packaging we expect. Sometimes it shows up with broccoli instead of mistletoe, with snowed-in stillness instead of family gatherings, with a woman instead of the father who didn't come home. And as they sit together beneath lights they hung themselves, They rewrite what holiday love can look like. Two women choosing each other openly, tenderly, joyfully, without apology, with needing to hide or make themselves palatable for a world that still sometimes flinches at women loving women. And the symbolism here is powerful. A canceled Christmas becomes a rebirth. Absence becomes opportunity. Queer love grows where disappointment once lived, and the message reaches beyond plot into the lives of viewers who have spent holidays yearning for permission. To be themselves, to love who they love, to believe that joy is not something you wait for, but something you create. And this story challenges heteronormative expectations by refusing to treat their love as scandal or rebellion, instead offering it as warmth, partnership, and emotional refuge, showing how intimacy between women, emotional, romantic, deeply felt, is not something shameful but something sacred, something worthy of celebration, especially against the backdrop of a culture that still romanticizes family as exclusively nuclear. One man, one woman, child beneath tree. But here, we see chosen family. Chosen love. Chosen future. And the tenderness of it lingers longer than any gift wrapped under the tree, because what Jenna and Ray exchange isn't possession but presence, not obligation but choice. And that is the heart of queer Christmas storytelling. Not subversion for shock, but softness for survival, joy as rebellion, love as miracle. And when the credits of this scene fade in our minds, we imagine them continuing their night not in secrecy or shame, but in warmth. Curled up talking long after the Fire Channel turns to embers, sharing memories, fears, dreams. Two women building a future not based on what they were told Christmas should be, but on what they discovered Christmas could mean when they allowed themselves to want each other without restraint. And in that sense, my Christmas wish becomes not just a romance, but a reclamation, a gentle declaration that queer happiness need not be hidden or minimized, that women, loving women is not a twist but a truth, deserving of the same cinematic tenderness that straight holiday films have received for decades. And maybe that is the true Christmas miracle here. Not snowfall or gifts or magic, but two adult women finding love where society told them to wait for someone else, and choosing each other anyway, bravely, beautifully, fully seen. Laying in her bed, the darkness still clinging to her like a second skin, Ray spends the night held hostage by a mind that cannot settle, her anxiety curling around her like cold air beneath the covers, and her fear, unspoken but deeply felt, becomes a ghost that sits at the edge of her mattress, whispering doubts she can't silence. So she drifts into uneasy sleep where dreams take shape, not as comfort, but as a battlefield of longing and repression. And in this dreamscape, she sees herself and Jenna the night before, sitting by the fire with the glow of Christmas lights, painting the room in that soft, nostalgic warmth people chase during the holidays. Opening presents like two women who have shared years of unspoken affection and are finally stepping toward something real, something tender, something terrifying. And at first the image is beautiful, almost cinematic in its quiet romance. Two women leaning toward each other not out of impulse but out of years of knowing, wanting, fearing the cost of wanting. But then the dream warps, as dreams often do for queer women taught to doubt their own heart, twisting that soft moment into something painful, as if her subconscious believes love must be punished, must collapse under guilt or consequence. And Ray sees the scene blur into dismay and sadness, a nightmare of what could happen if their feelings are exposed or mishandled, a crushing reminder of how society teaches women to second-guess their desire, especially when that desire is for another woman, and she wakes crying, breath short, heart racing, not because she regrets the kiss itself, but because she fears what it might mean for her friendship, her sense of self, her safety, her orientation she has perhaps never named aloud. Tears slipping down her cheeks not from shame, but from overwhelm, from the terror of opening a door she can't close, and yet also from the grief of imagining losing Jenna's warmth if she chooses fear instead of truth. And when Ray jolts awake, drenched in sweat, she clings to the relief that it was only a dream, but also feels the sting of regret. The knowledge that even beautiful moments can feel dangerous when you're not sure you're allowed to want them, especially when the world has not always been kind to women who love women. And she lies there stunned by how real it felt. How visceral the longing and the dread were braided together. How the dream tried to scold her with old internalized messages, not redeem her behavior, not correct queerness, but rather grapple with the deeply human instinct to pull away from vulnerability when vulnerability threatens to uproot everything familiar. And as she catches her breath, she realizes she cannot hide under blankets forever. She must get up. She must face the morning, and Jenna with honesty even if her voice shakes, because love, queer love especially, demands both courage and tenderness. And Ray gathers her thoughts slowly, placing each like ornaments returned carefully to a box, organizing fear from hope, doubt from affection, reminding herself that running from emotion hurts more than confronting it. Then she slips out of bed and moves through the quiet house where Christmas morning waits like a story still being written, and she finds Jenna downstairs, anxiously waiting, jittery with anticipation, like a girl afraid of being too eager yet unable to mask it, wanting Ray there. wanting the connection between them to survive daylight, and that image, Jenna waiting by the tree with gifts ready, is so deeply queer in its softness, in its domestic intimacy, in the way queer women often perform love through gestures of care instead of loudly declared labels. And Ray, still shaken but determined, decides to join her, brushing off the nightmare like snow off a coat even though part of it still clings, and she walks toward Jenna, heart thudding in a rhythm somewhere between dread and longing. And when she sits beside her, opening the beautifully wrapped present, discovering inside a magnificent green dress chosen with love and attention to Ray's taste, it becomes clear that Jenna didn't just choose a gift. She chose Ray, chose this moment as a continuation of what last night awakened, and she hands Ray another gift. But Ray can't pretend everything is simple, because for queer women nothing is simple when feelings bloom in a world built on assumption, the assumption of heterosexuality, the assumption of secrecy, the assumption that two women kissing must either be a phase or a scandal. And Ray feels all of this pressing against her ribs, demanding release. So she gathers her courage and confesses what sits heavy on her chest, that Jenna's father cannot know, that their closeness, their kiss, their conversation cannot be shared openly, not because their love is wrong, but because she fears judgment, rejection, fallout, the way queer people are often forced to manage the feelings of others before honoring their own. And Jenna, far from offended, understands immediately because queer women often learn the language of secrecy long before they learn the language of love. And she nods gently, agreeing that this, whatever this is, must be their little secret for now, tucked away like a fragile ornament that cannot yet hang on the tree for everyone to see, not out of shame, but out of the need for safety, privacy, a slow unfolding, and then in a playful attempt to resurrect last night's warmth, Jenna jokingly pretends there is mistletoe above them, leaning in with that mix of boldness and vulnerability queer women know well. The hope that if she moves first, Ray will meet her halfway, and Ray hesitates, fighting desire. Not because she doesn't feel it, but because feeling it means change, means acknowledging love that could reshape her identity, her relationships, her sense of self, and this moment speaks to so many queer viewers. How many women have stood at the edge of possibility with another girl, heart pounding, wanting to leap but afraid of falling, afraid of being seen, and yet aching to be seen. And though Ray pulls back at first, trying to maintain control, desire is not predatory here, not taboo or illicit, but mutual, soft, emotionally complex, and she finds herself drawn in again. Not lured, but welcomed, crossing that small distance not out of weakness, but out of recognition that her heart already crossed it long ago. And their kiss under pretend mistletoe becomes less about secrecy and more about claiming space for joy, even when joy is complicated. And in this scene, queer audiences may feel a resonance in the push and pull, the yearning followed by fear, the connection followed by withdrawal, the internal monologue that asks, is this real? Is it safe? Am I allowed to want this? And the story lingers not on spectacle, but on ache, on hope, on the emotional architecture of queer becoming. And beyond the romance, the narrative invites reflection on why society often reacts with discomfort. When women love women openly, why repression still shadows celebration, why intimacy between men and women is normalized, but intimacy between women is scrutinized, fetishized, or erased. And that tension appears in Ray's fear of Jenna's father finding out. Not a caricature, but a representation of the real-world social gaze women face, where approval is conditional and visibility can feel like a risk. And yet, in spite of it, their interaction is gentle rebellion, a quiet declaration that love deserves to exist even if whispered. And in their small living room Christmas morning, they become a mirror for countless women who have hidden love in glances, inside jokes, exchanged gifts, private promises, who have known the thrill of almost touching and the heartbreak of pulling away, who have mastered the dance of subtext out of necessity, who deserve media that treats their love not as plot twist or forbidden fruit, but as human, nuanced, brave, messy, sacred, and viewers watching may find themselves remembering their own first moments of queer clarity, the night they realized a female friend meant more than a friend, the morning after when reality arrived heavy with questions, the tenderness of wanting something they could not yet name aloud, and the story refuses to condemn them for it, instead allowing room for Ray's shame to be understood as internalized fear, not moral judgment, acknowledging that redeem is the wrong language, but also showing how people raised without queer visibility might default to guilt when love does not match the script they were handed. And this scene becomes not a warning but an invitation to unlearn shame, to replace secrecy not with recklessness but with self-acceptance, to realize that lesbian behavior is not something to correct but something to understand, to honor, to grow into. And the question of whether Jenna's father will come home is less about plot suspense and more about symbolic tension. Will the outside world intrude? On a private moment of queer joy, will patriarchal authority reassert itself? Will heteronormativity demand compliance? And this uncertainty echoes a universal queer experience, the fear that happiness may be temporary, that acceptance is conditional, that love may be lost if discovered, Yet the scene's emotional core pushes against that fear by centering connection rather than consequence, showing two women trying, failing, trying again to navigate desire without shame, exploring their hearts not for spectacle but for truth, and by focusing on their emotional interiority, Ray's trembling hope, Jenna's quiet courage. The narrative honors lesbian audiences who rarely see their love treated with such gravity, softness, and humanity, and women of all orientations may see themselves too in the themes of longing for emotional safety, fearing vulnerability, wanting love but not wanting to lose stability, learning that real intimacy requires honesty, even when honesty is scary. And the beauty of this moment lies not only in the kiss but in the conversation around it, in the questions it raises about identity, secrecy, courage, in the way it reminds viewers that becoming visible is a journey, not a single declaration. And as the scene ends with uncertainty, will he come home? Will they be found? Will the morning remain theirs? The lingering emotion is one of bittersweet possibility, a Christmas story that chooses authenticity over spectacle, representing not fantasy, but reality for many queer women. The quiet magic of loving another woman, even when the world insists love must be hidden, and the hope that one day they won't have to hide it all.